Okay, so I hope you can see the presentation.
Yes.
Right, wonderful. So first of all, I'm going to explain the reason why I have chosen this background. As you can see, we have here our planet Earth, and it's representing our planet in space. And this is very important from the Earth Day's perspective, as you'll see later in the presentation. And I'll come back to this again as well. So this year, the theme for the Earth Day is Restore Our Earth. And this has great importance because we have been damaging and degrading our environment for the last 150 years or probably 200 years as a result of this technological development, innovations that we've been observing due to industrialization, motorization, etc. And therefore, the gradual increase of all of these activities and the application of technology has made us use many of our resources. And we have been using them at unprecedented scales now. So therefore, it's very important to take into account how we need to protect our Earth. And this is one of the major reasons why the Earth Day is celebrated every year. So this is one of the images that is being promoted by the Earth Day organization. So if you have a chance, probably you can visit their website for other resources as well. And this is a very important way in which you can communicate through the social media with your peers and other students as well. I would like to highlight the fact that if you see this green dot on the map, this represents the University of Peshawar, and specifically our department. So the Environment Society at the University of Peshawar has organized this webinar to commemorate Earth Day 2021. And this is the description that we've given. So our event is registered with the Earth Day 2021. So people all over the world, they can see this event on the website. Okay, so as Professor Dr. Mohammed Nafis mentioned, the modern environmental movement, it actually started after Rachel Carlson's 1962 book, which was published in 1962. It's known as The Silent Spring. And this was the dawn of the modern environmental movement, as Professor Dr. Mohammed Nafis mentioned. So this is the title of the book. And then following that, there were a number of incidents. So what I'm trying to do here at the beginning is try to unfold history, what happened and how this Earth Day came into existence. So there were also many other events that took place, such as pollution in the environment. And one big pollution was the spread of DDT, which was used as an insecticide after the Second World War in order to kill the insects in the agricultural fields. But little was known about its impacts, the detrimental impacts on the environment and humans. And therefore, in this book, as the title represents, it was a spring where the birds were not chirping anymore. Because when the birds laid their eggs, the shells of the eggs were so delicate and fragile that they used to break easily, and therefore there were no offspring of the birds. And therefore it was a silent spring. And these eggs, they were affected due to the presence of DDT in ecosystems which the birds had ingested. So that was a major environmental problem that was identified in this book. And then later on, there were other environmental disasters, such as the oil spill in California, especially in the coast of Santa Barbara. And this is an image where you can now see that the oil pollution, it was all over the sea, millions of hectares of sea it was affected, and now these people, they are engaged in the cleanup of this environment. So this is an oil rig. This oil rig, it actually had a problem while extracting the fossil fuels from the ocean floor, and due to that, there was this oil which was spread out into the nearby sea. As you can see here, a huge area was affected. Now this is back in 1969. And you can see living things birds being affected. So it's important to realize that the space program, it brought environmental awareness. So we have a cosmic perspective, and this is very interesting in terms of understanding the world from outer space. Because at that time, in December 1968 specifically, it was the Apollo 8 mission to the moon which took a picture of Earthrise. And I'm going to share that picture with you now. We went to explore the moon, but we discovered Earth. And that's a very interesting statement, which gives a lot of importance in terms of the discovery of our Earth from outer space. Now, this is the actual image which the spacecraft took back in 1968. Now, many of you may have not heard about this Apollo 8 mission because the astronauts, they did not land on the moon, but they orbited the moon a few times. And at one point, they saw the moon rise. The Earth rise. We are accustomed to seeing the moon rise and the sun rise on Earth. But when you are on the moon, you can see the Earth rising. So this was a picture where for the first time we realized that we have this planet and it's in space, pitch black space. So we are all alone in this planet and we have to take care of our problems. And that's why I've linked the title of this presentation to that Earthrise picture, which in this case, it represents planet Earth in space. And you can now see this planet. This is an image from the International Space Station, which actually shows that it's all one landmass. There are no boundaries. We have actually made all these boundaries. When you look at a map in school, what do they represent? They represent all different colors of countries. So the different colors are actually boundaries and demarcations that we have made. But if you look at our planet from space, like this one, you can see that it's all just one planet, and we all share this planet. So that is our collective home. Following this space program, it's interesting that in the United States, there was a lot of environmental movement taking place, and the US Environmental Agency was established in 1970. And this also led to the establishment of other important organizations, such as the NOAA, which is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Now, it was for the first time that the atmosphere and the oceans, they were actually brought together in one phase. And this was all due to looking our Earth from space. Following that, there were also some other important developments that took place. There was the US Clean Air Act, again in 1970. The US Clean Water Act, again also in 1970. So the first Earth Day, it was celebrated in 1970. And Earth Day, it turns 51 this year. And also, I'm going to now proceed and just mention a few more years of the important developments that took place. So the UN Conference on the Human Environment, it took place in 1972 in Stockholm, as most of you know. And this actually marked the beginning of global awareness because the United Nations was involved. And it was a consequence of this conference that United Nations Environment Program was established on 5th of June, 1972. Now, make a note of this date, the 5th of June, and every year on 5th of June, as you know, we celebrate the World Environment Day. So all of this was happening. And then DDT was also banned in 1973. It took a few years, probably a decade, because in 1962 the book was published about the ill effects of DDT. And then after about a decade or so, it was banned. So we have seen that it's a very interesting historical background that I have unfolded today for you. Now, coming to the important question of what is Earth Day. So Earth Day is actually celebrated to create awareness about environmental protection and conservation of our planet. What can we do as individuals to protect and conserve our environment? And the word, it has to spread. People all over the planet, they are very aware now thanks to technology, the digital media and the social media, we can easily spread the word. But back in the 1970s, that was a major challenge, and I'm going to briefly explain that to you in a minute. So on this day, we actually learn about how to take care of our world, because as you saw in the previous slides, this is a planet in space. It's the only planet in the solar system which can sustain life, which can support life. And therefore, in that regard, it is very important to take care of our world. And as you know, every single year on April 22, Earth Day is celebrated since 1970. Okay, what is the history and when did this begin? So Earth Day was actually started by Senator Nelson from Wisconsin, which is one of the states in the US. And he actually prepared for 7 years for the very first Earth Day in 1970. And it's amazing to see that over 20 million people participated and they came out on the streets. Now, this was a time when there was no social media, there was no internet, and people communicated over the phones. So following that, in 2009, the United Nations General Assembly, it designated 22 officially as the International Mother Earth Day. So now Earth Day is celebrated in more than 109 countries all over the world. So right from the very beginning, from its inception, Earth Day has been all about the civil society mobilization, how to engage communities, how to engage people in order to understand the problems and therefore be a citizen voice and tell their governments to do legislation for environmental protection. Now I'm going to share this image with you. This is a picture of the symbol of sustainability, which I took in Washington, D.C. in 2018. And this was actually presented to the US for its achievements towards saving the environment. As you can see, this started back in 1970. Okay, I'm going to show a few images now. So these are from the very first Earth Day, which was celebrated in 1970. So 20 million people, they came out on the streets. Now, this was a time, as you can see, where people were now listening to the environmental problems, and they were trying in support of these problems. And you can see here where it says science is actually useful. So based on the scientific evidences, they were supporting this environmental movement. So a whole environmentalism movement started. As you can see here, these are images from all different states in which people have come out and they are participating. In this regard, I would like to highlight the University of Wisconsin in Madison, and they established the Nelson Institute for Environmental Studies back in 1970. So this is exactly when the Earth Day started. So this is, the name comes from the Senator Nelson's name, and this is an institute at the University of Wisconsin in Madison. And they're also celebrating Earth Day 2021. I had the opportunity to go to the University of Wisconsin in an international visitors leadership program back in July 2018. So if you carefully look at this map, this is the state of Wisconsin, and that's where the University of Wisconsin in Madison is situated. And you can see the institutes in the background here. This is the University of Wisconsin, where this environmental movement started, because it was actually the students in the university who promoted and came out, and then the word spread. So these are some of the scenic shores of Lake Mendota to the north. This is on campus, and the reason why I'm showing this is because between 2007 and 2020, this university, it reduced its greenhouse gas emissions by 48%, and that is amazing. So I think there was some disconnection. Anyhow, let's continue. So between 2007 and 2020, the University of Wisconsin in Madison, it reduced its greenhouse gas emissions by 48%. And that's a great achievement for just one university. Okay, some Earth Day activities. Many activities take place on Earth Day. It's important to highlight the fact that the signing of the Paris Agreement took place in 2016 on Earth Day, and you can see all the leaders in this image. So there are some Earth Day activities. And I would strongly encourage you to visit the website earthday.org, where you can then, for example, look at the live Earth Day event. So it's 12 p.m. Eastern time, and it's going to be 9 p.m. today, this evening, in Pakistan. So if you are around, if you're available, it would be great if you can log in and listen to the Earth Day live events. Also, there's another important factor in terms of Pakistan's contribution, which I would like to highlight. So there's a leaders summit on climate, which is taking place today, and it's hosted by the US. It's quite interesting that Pakistan has been invited to this event, and it's a great opportunity to show why climate change adaptation is of paramount importance in Pakistan. And also at the same time, it's a great opportunity to highlight that we have achieved Sustainable Development Goal number 13, which is climate action 10 years before 2030. And you'll be surprised to know that last year, Pakistan achieved this SDG 13 10 years ahead of its schedule. Okay, getting the word out about Earth Day. Remember, you should spread the word on social media. And this is the word that you need to spread. Together, we have the power to restore our Earth. And it is directly related to the Earth Day 2021's theme. Okay, just a brief introduction to the Environment Society's contribution to Sustainable Development Goal number 13. And I'm very happy and pleased to inform you that last year, on 5 June, which is World Environment Day, we actually marked this day by celebrating the achievement of the University of Peshawar being ranked in the top 200 global universities for SDG 13 climate action. And this was a global ranking according to the Times Higher Education Global Impact Rankings. And the Environment Society, it played a very pivotal role, a leading role in terms of making this ranking for the University of Peshawar through its events, its seminars, programs, the different walks, and contribution of all students like yourselves, as well as faculty members of the Department of Environmental Sciences, as well as other departments as well. So it was a collective teamwork, and we proved that we are able to rank in the top 200 for SDG 13. So that was a wonderful achievement. And also the Federal Minister of Climate Change also congratulated us on this achievement. This was the news which came out on our university's website, where it says that the UP, it ranked among the top 200 universities in the world for SDG 13. And I'm very thankful to the then Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Muhammad Asif Khan, who paid tribute to the Environment Society. So thank you very much. So what can you do? This is the last slide, and I'm going to finish then. I'm just going to tell you what you can do as individuals. Now, the first thing that you can do is create awareness. It is absolutely important to talk to people about environmental problems. So talk to students, talk to your peers, talk to people at home, in your communities, when you go to villages, in the hujras, talk about environmental issues and environmental problems so that we can spread the word how important it is. And these environmental problems were highlighted in the presentation by the chairman, Professor Dr. Muhammad Nafis, who very eloquently explained the major problems that Pakistan is experiencing. The other thing that you can do is also adopt and promote recycling. And this is a concept which is lacking in Pakistan. All over the world in developed countries, there are promotions for recycling. The government needs to intervene. We need to have a recycling plan and policy. And as individuals, you can start segregating your waste and also thinking about recycling. We can also reduce our waste production. So as individuals, you can think about what you need, what you do not need. So for example, when I go to the grocery store, I always take my own bag, and it's made from jute. It can be from cloth, and you put all your groceries in there, and then you do your shopping. So stop, for example, using the single plastics. Single-use plastics are very hazardous for our environment and for the planet. So these are the ways in which you can reduce your waste. Also, it's very important to do plantations because trees are the lungs of the earth. They absorb carbon dioxide, they release oxygen for us. Recently, last month, we did a massive plantation campaign with the KP Forestry Department and the student societies in Baragali, and it was a massive plantation campaign. And we've also been doing plantation campaigns at the campus in Peshawar. So it's always great, you know, to do plantations everywhere. You can do these in villages, in your homes, in the backyards, on campus, everywhere. So I would strongly encourage you to do plantations. And for most of all, you would be interested in becoming environmental champions. So you need to think about this. You can promote the whole environmentalism movement by becoming environmental champions. You have the platform of the Environment Society. If you're not a member, you're welcome to become a member. And you can use this platform through the digital media nowadays because of the lockdowns and closures that we have. So this is the platform that you can use in order to promote your own interests and awareness creation for environmental issues and problems. So thank you very much for listening.